Like, you're not being serious here. Again, you're just not being serious here. It's insane.
2018, and the day after, we started all this goofy stuff. So hopefully we got time
to like running a
jerk
primary.
This thing back and be about healthcare and prescription drug prices and education and infrastructure and climate and diplomacy and rejuvenating, whatever it is. But this is not happening so far.
Just naming random
and
issues.
We can't act like this is going well.
That people like Bernie Sanders are much, much more about than anybody on the neoliberal side of things that James Carville is so clearly on here.
Can't come out and put 3 wonderful talking points. We need to. These campaigns have got to be more relevant. For God's sake, Senator Warren, get real out here, and let's move this thing along. I mean, we got to do that.
Joe Biden barely fit on the graphic we have next to you. Came out of there 4th place last night. What do you make of Joe Biden and his campaign?
He has had an honorable life in politics, all right? This is just not the time. And so what's happened is he blocked out access from my guy Michael Bennett, from my dear friend Governor Bullock, blocked out access from Senator Booker. Probably some people that were going to run didn't run because he was in the race. And he's going to, maybe he'll come back, but he's going to have a difficult time. This is not a very good night for him, to say the least.
Who should chair the Democratic Party?
I don't know. Ask Nancy Pelosi. That's my idea. Come on, Speaker. We got to get somebody in there. Now, I think this thing in Milwaukee is not off to a good start. I see all kinds of things that are
Sorry about
very
the convention there, but it's like the idea that we're letting just like screw all the voting, screw all the actually talking to constituents, trying to have a fair election. Like, all that stuff, like, let's go, let's find out what our people think on the ground. Like, the people who support us the most, who do they want us to run? Who are they going to be excited to come out and vote for? Let's not interfere in the process in any way like we did last time. Let's actually come out and find who that person is going to be. And then they're like, no, we cannot do that. Like, that's an awful idea. Why would you ever think about that idea? Oh, wait. Let's just ask the but relatively getting up there in age. I'm going to be kind to Speaker Pelosi, Speaker of the House, who has most importantly here, has the exact same political opinions as I have. Like, what kind of ideology is this here that's operating, and how is this going to bring us forward? How is this going to make anybody excited? Like, if you're just denying, like, this thing in Milwaukee, where people are going to announce who won the Democratic convention, that's not off to a good start. And I love the idea that he thinks, Michael Bennett would win, but it's just Joe Biden's fault that he's not winning. Like, this is, again, absolutely delusional, child-minded politics from somebody like James Carville. And it's just like, again, a complete product of Bill Clinton and 1992, like 1994. So is James Carville is still alive? This is pretty much the reaction that MSNBC appearance, and apparently it's just been put out, wheeled out from his cryo chamber. Sorry, he's old. What do you want? To come in there and attack progressives. He had a lengthy follow-up interview actually with Vox's Sean Illing, who has challenging direct questions throughout rather than the fawning softballs which Carville has grown accustomed to. The Raging Cajun trotted out, that's what they call him, all the greatest hits of people whose political worldview has not been updated since 1994, and for whom the takeaway of 2016 is that Hillary Clinton lost because of Jill Stein and Russian hackers. Because we played a show where I've broken it down. I think it's like Everything Wrong with the Democratic Party or something like that, where he's on that panel. It's a breakdown of a political talk panel, and these two women are kind of the worst parts of it. But there's James Carville coming in and just saying things like, "What is wrong with you, man? Have you paid attention to politics? Like, how far is your head up in the sand? Like, it's pretty insane." Carville, he's the most skilled practitioner of a hobby common to his social and political stratum, ascribing the working class or simply voters a resistance to any kind of change that inconveniences people like James Carville. Like, there should be some sort of word for that, like racism or just like misappropriation of the ideals of the working class. I mean, that doesn't have the best ring to it. It really doesn't. I know it doesn't have the best ring to it, but we got to kind of come up with something here. But it's because this is something that they always do. It's like the voter, the working class. They don't like this. But what you're really saying is, I don't like this. This is bad for me. This is what I think doesn't work. Based on zero facts, 0 points of evidence, 0 polls, 0 evidence the candidate that you like is even doing well. Like, again, I cannot emphasize this enough. This supposed political genius who is representing the don't kid yourself here. He's representing a good portion of the interests of the Democratic Party. He is somebody who supports Michael Bennet. He says, yes, that candidate, that guy, Michael Bennet, he's going to be the guy who's going to come in there and beat Donald Trump. Like, that is the person, that's the level of genius that is at stake and is here to help for the Democratic primary come when things get serious. So, yeah. That is, it's like, ooh, thank goodness. I'm glad we got James on our side. Thank goodness. All right, let's get more into this clip here. It's 7 minutes, a very long clip.
There, and also I'm just looking at the mega polling averages. I'm looking at public opinion right now, and frankly, we got to snap back and get this thing going, or I don't even think about what would happen if we had 4 more years of Trump. But this is so far not so good. That's my analysis.
As I always say, you can't run a Whole Foods race, and what I insist is still a Campbell's Soup nation. Ari Melber has a few questions for you.
Damn, I did not expect that. I did not expect somebody like Brian Williams to come out there and quietly come through with the absolute worst line of the night there. Like, I think we may have to rewind that. It said it by the way, in the most smug way as well. Let's bring this back. Let's see. Yeah, this should be good.
Soup nation.
Oh no,
Ari Melber.
It takes longer to say.
You can't run a Whole Foods race, and what I insist is still a Campbell's Soup nation.
You can't run a Whole Foods style race, and what I insist is a Campbell's Soup nation. Like, what kind of, like, that is the epitome of the BS, like, politics speak of, like, I know what's going on, guys. Like, this is we're gonna profile every single voter. We're gonna break down by what food they like to eat, whether they like to go to Whole Foods or not. And I mean, first of all, that kind of way of looking at politics, that way of looking at voters through the interest of, oh yeah, this is the type of soup that they eat, is probably one of the dumbest things in the world, and something that literally only the Democratic Party ever does, and that's why they lose, and this is why they're standing on MSNBC like, all we do is lose elections. I can't figure out why. Is it because we've had all these horrible populists running? Is that why it is? No. Wait, we've only had corporates running? Okay, never mind. Forget I said that. Like, it's again, looking past the fact that it's stupid, this kind of Whole Foods versus Campbell's Soup nation, like, it's not even true, because Bernie Sanders is running the whole Whole Foods primary and the Campbell Soup primary. If to use Brian Williams' rather stupid verbiage there, it's like, because he's appealing to a lot more, like, people who are shopping at Whole Foods don't have to check the I need financial support box on their college applications. Like, they don't have to worry about, in some cases, when they're going to put their next meal on the table. And the truth is, these people, especially the young people, they overwhelmingly, they come in there and they support Bernie. Bernie is the best in the Midwest. That is something that of any other Democratic candidate. When polling has actually been put out there, especially in the swing states, Bernie Sanders does the best. He just connects really well in West Virginia. He connects really, really well in Michigan and Wisconsin. All those areas, the quote-unquote Campbell Soup capital of the country. Like, if James Carville was to name a place that's like peak Campbell Soup, like West. I'm getting the feeling he's talking about the Rust Belt here. I'm really getting that sense. Call me crazy, but that kind of emphasis on the importance of those voters, I don't think it's entirely misplaced, but the idea that Bernie Sanders doesn't do it better than anybody is ridiculous. Just look at the coalition. It's the working class. And geography doesn't matter. There's people who are just as working class living next to a Whole Foods but not even being able to go to it as there is maybe in New York City as there is people in the heartland. Because the working class, it's not a white working class. It's multiracial. Like, as Michael Moore says, the person you think of when you think of working class shouldn't be a white man with the coveralls on. It should be a working class, or working young black woman. That's who, if you look at on average the working class, like the most disadvantaged people in the country, that is who they are. That's what the Bernie Sanders campaign is fighting for the most. And maybe Elizabeth Warren, but if you look at the coalitions of people that they built, nobody comes close to how they appeal to the working class than Bernie Sanders. It's just the reality of the situation. Like, in terms of what we've seen about who supports who, the demographics of support, Bernie's Campbell soup all the way.
Ari Melber has a few questions for you. Ari?
Thank you, Brian. James, good to see you on a big night.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
You look at the numbers we now have. More people showed up to their caucus sites, according to the new numbers, in the first alignment backing Bernie Sanders than anyone else. And after the alignments and yada, yada, as they say.
That's a question.
He was basically now still vying for first with Pete Buttigieg. What does that tell you about the enduring strength of Bernie Sanders in this primary going into New Hampshire, where he did well last cycle? And are you the kind of Democrat that could get behind him if he's the nominee?
Well, I'll get behind him. Of course, I'll vote for him. They don't have no choice. But look at the British Labour Party. I mean, we're like talking about people voting from jail cells.
We already talked about
We're talking about not having a border. I mean, come on, people. Every day people are out there struggling.
Yeah, that's what I think of. Bernie's the open borders candidate.
You're concerned that you consider Bernie Sanders for open borders and for incarcerated people voting? Is that what you're saying?
He said he's not. He said that we should give people a ticket. All right? I'm saying what he said. If you read Ron Brownstein, he's at $35 trillion in spending. Or read all of the thing. I'm saying, of course, I would vote for him, but I don't want the Democratic Party of the United States to be the Labor Party of the United Kingdom.
And my other question, and then I think we're going to throw it back with all the panelists we have, our esteemed colleagues. My other question for you is Elizabeth Warren here. As mentioned, coming out above Joe Biden in these new numbers. Finishing strong when people had said she might not, overperforming in Polk County, as mentioned. Right. We're watching more of those results coming in any hour or later, potentially. What do you think of her path to nomination now?
The best bio I've seen in a presidential campaign. And she had a very good critique, which was that corruption is holding the country back. And for some reason, I don't know why, she decided to chase Bernie's left tail all over the country and became known for some exotic positions, let's say that, to put it mildly. And if she can get back to what she's about, now, I know her not well, but she's very smart. Obviously, she's very smart. I think she understands what's happening in the country, but you can talk about, what you talk about is your choice. And I just hope that she gets back to talking about being that afraid single mother, going to the University of Houston, working, and knowing the struggles that people go through.
Okay, I just want to pause this. So, what is this afraid single mother going to the University of Houston? That seems to be coming out of, literally nowhere. Just a little bit of an aside there. Did he meet somebody, who's an afraid single? Did he pay I shouldn't say that. But, I should not say that. Anyway, but, this is the kind of ideology. What is this? This whole thing of she needs to be talking about the afraid single mother from Houston. This is the kind of politics that has brought us loss after loss after loss, just pandering, vapid, spiritless, completely ideal. I think for to be successful when it comes to politics, you have to have a few things. You got to have your policies. You got to have your vision of what the country is going to look like, and you got to point to how you can enact that vision. But another thing you got to do is you got to point out who is bringing this country, who's put